Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to episode number 2 of Share the Point. Still haven't got an intro for that, but Lisa, I mean, I could probably do better, but we're getting there.
We'll get there.
We will. I do have one jingle today, which we'll get into shortly, but yes, welcome on into our next month. It'll be the episode number 2. It is now December, and we're on another sort of little talking point with myself. My name is Stuart. I'll be leading our conversation today, but I'm joined as ever by Lisa. Hello, Lisa.
Hello.
How is things? How's things and stuff?
Yeah, not bad. Busy, really busy. Considering it's the lead up to Christmas, nobody wants to leave us in peace. Everybody's still inquiring, which is a good thing.
Amazing.
And yeah, just really busy.
Yeah, I think this is probably I've had more meetings this week about Microsoft 365 stuff than I probably have. It's going all the way back to like August. It is crazy.
Yeah, it's been an odd one. I mean, Melissa and I discuss it on a yearly basis. That it always goes quiet over lead up to Christmas, but probably that I'd probably say the last 3 years now. The last 3 weeks of December before we closed down the office for Christmas, it's just gone mad. To the point that we are already almost fully booked until the end of April next year. So it's crazies.
Crazy times. Well, we're here and we're not. Well, are we stressed? Who knows? We're humans.
We don't do stress.
We don't do stress. It's a week to go before the sort of we break up for Christmas. We'll cover that in our little news segment. We'll let everyone know about out of offices and all that type of stuff and things just in a wee minute. But yes, we do have an agenda for today. As ever, we'll go through some industry news and events. I'm excited to let you hear my jingle, Lisa.
I'm looking forward to this.
It's terrible. It's meant to be a cheesy podcast, so it's getting it. It's getting the full Stuart effect. Cool. Then we'll go through onto our main segment. Obviously, last time we'd done a show last month, we obviously explained what this show is and what the podcast is going to be all about. But we're going to move on to probably one of the first major subjects I say that people can take a lot away from, which is building the perfect SharePoint site. And ultimately taking, I don't know how long it's going to take. I mean, you and I could talk all day about this and pros and cons, the do's and don'ts of building SharePoint. So we're going to try and cover off some of the main subject matter today, including pages, architecture, which is a big one, lists, libraries, and permissions, and just kind of cover off a lot of the key core fundamentals of what you guys should be considering when making a SharePoint environment, or at least making improvements to it in the not too distant future. Because every time we seem to speak to people about SharePoint, even though it's been out for a very long time, we still have people questioning how they should be building stuff. So we'll waffle over that today, which I'm quite excited to do with you, Lisa. You and I get to talk about SharePoint for a bit, so I mean, can't really complain.
Not really. It's what we enjoy doing.
Exactly. Then we'll get to our top tip of the day, or our Microsoft 365 tech tip, and Lisa has came forward with this month's suggestion, which is the reason why we should not be using folder structure and alternative methods of building information architecture. See the longer spin I put on that, other than don't use folders, you idiots. I would actually put it into more methodical, technical.
You did very, very well done. Yeah. It's a standing joke with all of our clients that don't use the F word to me. I will not be happy.
Yeah. And it's been like that for many years. So we're going to go into that today and just obviously articulate what our feelings are with it, where obviously folders are appropriate, where they're not appropriate, and all the different technology advancements that we have at your fingertips. So we're going to go through that today as well. Before we wrap up with our fabulous final question of the day, which I get to put to Stuart. Put to me this time. So this will be fun. But yeah, I mean, are you ready for the jingle?
Go on then.
Oh, I hope this works okay. So here we go. If I just click this.
Only you can hear it. I can't hear that.
Oh, hang on. Let me go to live. I think this is because I'm missing the button. Hang on. Technical. It's now time for industry news and events.
I love it.
Yeah, you heard it that time. There you go. I don't know if that played the first time or if I just did a preview, but it's all good.
It's good.
This is meant to be the flow. We're humans. We're just making podcasts and talking about technical things. It's not meant to be pristine multi-million-dollar production,
No.
But yeah, there you go. There is this week's news and event. I mean, it's a big one, Lisa. There is a big one. Since the last time we spoke, and just as we were doing our last episode, Microsoft Ignite was basically on the cards just around the corner the following week. And I guess There's been a lot. No, I'm not going to use the word fallout, but there's definitely been a lot of updates come out from the event, Lisa. I mean, I was sitting eating my bowl of soup. I remember that night watching the opening keynote,
Mm-hmm.
which was interesting. So I have a list of things to go from the event. There was a post and a blog post I put up as well 2 weeks ago. I think I would have put it
Mm-hmm.
up with some of these as well. So I'm just going to go through them again for those that are here today. But certainly, Lisa, what was any thoughts, Microsoft Ignite thoughts? Have you had any since? Anything that kind of caught your attention?
See, I when I look back at it, and it was, I personally felt a lot of it was Copilot related.
It was.
And which is grand, it's happening, it's there, we all have to deal with it. But I was so looking forward to, we're going to be giving you this for SharePoint, and we're going to be doing this for SharePoint, and I didn't quite get that.
Yeah. I'm the same. I don't know if I can't remember what I said in the podcast the last time, but I just always. I get to Microsoft and I think, oh my God, this is going to be the year that they announce modern document sets, using the old classic ones, or, global reusable workflows and Power Automate instead of making them per library. Just the things that we actually want in our community. And then every year I get there and I'm just like, oh, all right, cool. Okay. I mean, I guess that's fine for the handful of customers that you're targeting. And it kind of it's an interesting one because obviously a lot of these large scale enterprise organizations will see these things and go, cool, these are amazing. But then you're looking at the mid to small size businesses and they're not going to be able to take advantage of any of those sort of new capabilities. And ultimately, Microsoft are looking for licensing. They're looking for, that's their paycheck at the end of the day. I guess they are obviously want to push and promote Copilot Studio, Agent, all this type of stuff. And it kind of, you're right. I felt the same way, Lisa. So you're not alone in that one. That's why we're quite similar in that regard. I felt kind of the same way. But I've got a few of the sort of main bullet points. It was on a SharePoint blog post that they put out, actually. So I'll just kind of start at the top and go through some of the main ones. So if people haven't seen this or haven't heard of them or caught the LinkedIn post, at least you can keep up to date. So some of the main, this is SharePoint specific. This isn't Power Platform, Power App. This is just specifically, I'm sharing the point, as our show would suggest. So the first one is all about structured metadata understanding. And again, it's all to do with Copilot. So what Copilot's going to have the ability to now do is to reason over in SharePoint metadata for relevant answers. Effectively, in English and in layman's terms, is when we upload a document to a document library, we can apply appropriate metadata onto our file to define it, whether it's purpose or administrative or whatever the columns may be, to provide value and depth. The Copilot will be able to summarize and analyze that to provide output. So if we queried it, how many files are in the document library where the invoice date is in 2022, it could summarize and provide us a table based upon the metadata. So for searchability, amazing. For using natural language to be able to query your document libraries, amazing. But coming to our point later on, this is a reason why you shouldn't use folders, because folders don't give us this depth and understanding where metadata does. And by having Copilot intuitively through natural language input questions, we can get answers out using our metadata. So I did think that one. I was like, okay, cool.
Yep.
I see you, Mr. Microsoft. I appreciate that one. So yes, that was the first one I kind of had written down. The next one was mainly all around content reasoning. So this one's a little bit different, but what this was specifically looking at was being able to analyze and provide details of understanding for things like text, images, SharePoint site pages, files, that type of stuff, and actually now start to analyze things like SharePoint pages, and Copilot can then obviously understand and reason and go through what's on a SharePoint page is one of the things I took from it. But certainly files, images is a really popular, kind of common one now. One of the presentations that they did on the day was a fictitious shop. I don't know if you saw that, Lisa, right at the start.
I missed that one.
Oh, it was a showcase. They had like a fictitious shop that they had, and they went to all these different key business stakeholders, not necessarily just Microsoft, but like key business stakeholders to explain what they were doing in terms of stuff. And there was a lot of like Copilot to do with like images detection and videos and live cameras. And I was like, all right, cool. But again, coming to SharePoint though, is the comprehensive content reasoning with SharePoint pages and encrypted files, which was interesting. The next one I had bulleted down was instant answers from Microsoft lists. So
Okay.
So basically, we can ask questions now to our SharePoint lists in a natural language to understand what's in our list, basically, in an absolute nutshell. That's going to be coming out. I've actually got a roadmap up because there's one I'm going to talk about that in a minute. That will be coming to public preview, and I think is, if not already out or generally available already. I think it's in Microsoft lists in public preview, so it might be tenants, not all. I'll have to check that just in a wee second. But yeah, what you can do is you can create a knowledge agent to ability to query and answer questions based upon SharePoint lists. So just say, for example, you have a IT ticketing service and you want to ask questions, how many tickets were raised last week by Stuart? Stuart raised this many tickets last week. You can ask natural language questions to now a SharePoint list as a data source without, years gone by, we'd have to, sort the data, filter it, create views on our list. Now we can just ask it questions.
See, that's part of the roadmap bit that I looked at as well, is one of the new web parts that's coming out.
Oh, yeah.
And it coincides with what you just said there.
Yeah, they're pulling it all in now. So whether you want to query pages, document libraries, and now lists, all the key building blocks have now got Copilot integration that we can ask natural language questions of the content that's in front of us. I was like, again, another one I went, that's fine if you've got a Copilot license.
Yeah.
For those that don't, unfortunately, you will have to do lists, views, columns, and metadata, the good old days. But yeah, that it's exciting, Lisa. I think what's a shame is Copilot is not obviously included in their standard licensing offerings to all customers.
No.
It's obviously behind a paywall, which is a bit of a shame because a lot things like this over the years, you and I have built many SharePoint environments over the years where going back to like SharePoint 2007 and 10, the amount of feedback we got, the SharePoint search is rubbish. Where nowadays we can literally ask natural language questions and it'll pull back,
give you an answer,
it'll summarize how we want it, format it how we need, and it's completely taken us to a whole new innovation and way of thinking and searching for our content. So again, another one I got rather giddy and excited for was that one. And then the last one I kind of had bullet pointed was on-demand page and list creation. You can now use in Copilot a command, the @SharePoint, and then you can put like a list or page agent to create pages and lists all using Copilot now. So you don't even have to make them manually anymore. It can make them for you. Do I trust it, Lisa? I don't know. I've tried it a couple times and it somewhat works, especially the pages one I've played around with a little bit. But again, it comes down to requirements gathering. If you're just winging it, creating like a news article or a blog for your business or something like that, then you could create the framework to lay it out. But if you're building like an intranet homepage, you're going to listen to your customers' scope and requirements, and then you're going to build that based upon what they want. And although you can also put in those questions and ask it to build it for you, there's still an element of manual intervention. It's not going to purely build it for you, but so that'll be, I think that's early access. I don't even think that's out at the moment for public. I'm sure on the roadmap we could probably check, but that was probably the main ones from Microsoft Ignite anyway that was picked up. There were those ones. And all Copilot heavy, unfortunately. I didn't really pick up any new SharePoint features.
No.
Anything that we weren't already aware about. The archiving feature that's coming out, the change in the library experience is now generally rolling out. But there was one, Lisa, that I did spy. Now, this isn't going to be a huge...
What did I miss?
Well, when you use the internet and you go to like Facebook or Twitter, do you use a light mode or a dark mode?
A light mode.
Oh, see, I'm stuck in between because most this is controversial. This, Lisa, you use dark mode or light mode. They could split families. This question. Well, SharePoint is now introducing a light and dark mode out of the box.
Well, they've got it in Teams already.
Yeah, so it's coming to SharePoint, and I had no idea that this was even announced. I didn't know
when
it was announced. I never saw it. But anyways, so I was looking through the good old roadmap just to kind of see if I could see anything that were, different or things that were announced that I maybe missed. And And yeah, so that was one of them that kind of creeped up, was the ability to have standard out of the box. I think I wrote down the exact wording actually. I think I put it down. I put a notepad. See, I put a notepad for today. It says, introduce 2 official Microsoft designed dark themes for SharePoint sites, delivering a modern, elegant look with improved visual comfort and accessibility. These themes provide consistent branding options and enhance user experience in low light environments while maintaining compliance with Microsoft design standards.
Okay. I have to admit, I'm not a fan of dark mode. It's
Oh.
not my bag. And yeah, I've had people that used the dark mode in Teams, and obviously the minute you open SharePoint, it goes into light mode, and they get really frustrated with it. Well, obviously this will appease their issues when they can put it in dark mode quite happily. But yeah, no, I'm a light mode person.
There you go. I'm not fussed. I change. I think that if on my, like right now, Riverside that we're using for the podcast and recording is dark. If I go to Twitter, it's dark. If I go to YouTube, it's light. I kind of change between the programs. But yeah, I'm not really that fussed for one or the other. I'm sure people in the comments will rage at like, what do you mean you're not using a dark mode? Because that's typically what my friends do to me. But yeah, so I saw that was that was only recently added on the 14th of November, which was around about the same time we were recording our episode, and is starting to roll out as of February 2026. So it's another little bit I picked up on. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff coming out next year. You just look at the roadmap, Lisa, and there's just a bunch of stuff that we already kind of know about. So archivings, the new file sharing experience is April 2026. The archiving, sorry, is July 2026. Where was the other one? The new workflow app experience in Teams and SharePoint is January 2026.
Yeah, I saw that one.
So there's a few in there that we kind of already know about that will be in the new year. So we'll obviously touch base on them, and I'll put some blog posts out in the new year on LinkedIn and stuff like that about these new features. So once I see them and I know about them, I will let everyone else know about them.
Yeah, well, there's 2 that jumped out at me, partly because of weirdly one client that I'm working with at the moment, and I instantly went, "Ooh, they're going to really like this." And so the first one is it's actually being rolled out the rollout started at the start. Will start mid-December, so about now. And that is the management of version control of audio and video files. So obviously, audio and video files are massive. They take up a huge amount of space inside a SharePoint environment. And the client that sprang to mind when I saw this, that they blew their site size within days of migration. And so with this one, it now allows the admin to set up retention specifically for audio and video files. Instead of just having, I'll keep that, in version history, keep this many versions and have a retention policy for this, that, and the other. This one actually allows them to set a maximum retention of versions of that video, of that image, etc.
I saw this one. This is very cool.
Oh yeah. It allows enabling to auto trim behaviors of images and videos, but it is admin based. So it's central admin people out there. This is going to fall on your shoulders. As much as the users are going to get frustrated because they would love to do that themselves at site level. But as we touched on in the last podcast, Microsoft have moved so much of the features from site collection admin into central admin. But this is going to be one of them. And again, it allows companies and organizations to look at how much data are we storing, especially large file structures. The other one that jumped out at me, which is in the roadmap, and I looked at it and I went, oh my God, this is really cool. People ask me this all the time, is a SharePoint new web part for FAQs. Because previously,
we've had to make them by hand before, yeah.
We've always done it by hand before. Now, and the thing that makes me laugh is when I look back to old SharePoint, so take SharePoint 2010, you had discussion boards. So you could go on and you can ask a question and somebody can answer you and that kind of, it was brilliant. And then Microsoft took it away. And then now they are releasing, let me just double check the date, March 2026 is when it's due to roll out. They are going to release a web part that you can embed onto your site pages that will allow you to generate an FAQ web part to help assist content owners, obviously keep their content fresh and relevant, etc. But you need Copilot for it. Because it's all based, the FAQ is based around working with an agent. And obviously for SharePoint agents, you have to have Copilot.
Gotcha. So there's so Copilot again.
Yes, so it was like, here's some really big news, but to get it, you've got to get this. I know, and it was I got so excited when I saw it. And I was like, oh my god, I can't wait to share this with everybody. And then I read the last little, the fine print.
Oh, yeah, because I think that over the years, I've built a few FAQs in my past where I think the most recent one I've done was using sections as collapsible sections.
Yep.
So you'd have the question as the header, and then you would expand it or open it to then see the answer for the question. On the page, you had like all these different questions, a bit like what you have on like a modern website, about us, how to raise a query, blah, 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 blah. But there'd be like collapsible sections. And that was kind of one of the newer or more recent ways we could do it. So, yeah. Oh, well, there's another one to look out for.
So there we go.
Maybe play with that when it comes out in the new year, and just kind of see what that's all about.
Yeah, so March 2026, that one's due to start getting rolled out.
There you go. All the news today, and all different cool things. I think there's going to be a big year up till about March, April time. Is everything I see at the moment, which is the big ones. I haven't really seen any sort of major ones coming for later on in the year. I will still keep my ear to the ground for everybody on the OneDrive calls that they have. I believe they're like every month or fortnight. I'll kind of keep watching the YouTube channel. I just watched the YouTube channel after, so I can like scrub it and go back and make sure I understood what they said. So I haven't seen a new one of them soon. So I'll keep my ears to the ground, see if I hear any new things for next year. But yeah, there you go. Some new stuff and things to look forward to. I do have an update as well for an event that's coming up, Lisa. I mentioned in the last podcast the Microsoft AI Tour, and you and I surmised that where the location would be. Do you remember where we thought it was going to be?
No.
In London?
Yes.
And it was going to be the XL, and you are. It's probably going to be the XL. Guess where it is? It's the XL in London on February the 24th. So all the information for that is now available on the website. So you can go to, I think it's aitour.microsoft.com, and all the different locations are up on there. So you can have a look in finding your city. There's quite obviously a few different cities in the new year, starting off at New York on January 21st, Boston January 27th, Johannesburg on January 29th, and if I keep scrolling down, you get to February 24th, 2026, and it's in London for all of our UK listeners and clients. So definitely an interesting one to consider. It's on at the XL. I'm not going to read out the address, but currently it's this is cool with the website, Lisa. It's in 70 days, 17 hours, 35 minutes, and 19 seconds until it starts. But small little caveat with this one, guys, is you have to request to attend and register. You can't just go pay a ticket. You can't just register to go. You've got to request to attend. So that link is now live. You just need to put in your business email address, telephone number, and stuff like that. And you're not guaranteed access, so don't go booking your flights and your hotels until you obviously get confirmation. But yes, the request to attend is there, and there'll be things like workshops, breakout sessions, keynote speaking, and a connection hub. Loads of sort of the similar things, kind of similar to when you and I, Lisa, went to Microsoft Ignite in London a few years ago. Quite a similar thing, but obviously with a key focus being on AI transformation within our organization. So obviously Microsoft are still putting a big emphasis on Copilot. But we've got Darren Hardman, which is the CEO of UK and Ireland Microsoft, and Alan Rainey, which is the Vice President of Microsoft Security at Microsoft. Cool. Those two are the sort of big speakers that are noted on their website so far. I guess there'll be more as they add more people in. But it's a long day. Doors open from 7, morning workshops from 7:45, breakouts from 8:15. The keynote starts at 9:30.
Take coffee.
Take plenty. Yeah. With the wrap-up event starting at 5:45. So it's a pretty long day. You're almost going to be there for close to about 11 or 12 hours if you want to spend the whole day there. But that's definitely one, I think, of all the events that I've picked up, especially the UK ones, with Copilot and AI being a massive part of what we're all going to be doing in the future. If you are a stakeholder or a decision maker or someone that's thinking about using Copilot and you're not speaking to me and Lisa, why are you not speaking to me and Lisa? Recommend go check out the Microsoft AI Tour in London, because it's usually free, so I don't see any costs behind it.
That's cool.
We are kicking a boot.
Yes.
And there was only one more, Lisa, I thought I'd mention today that again popped up on my radar. You know how much I enjoy going to Holland and Amsterdam.
Oh, yes.
Well, there's the Microsoft Security Summit.
Is that a hint?
No, it doesn't interest me in the slightest.
Yeah, okay.
I'll go if you want me to go. I mean, you don't have to twist my arm to go, but Security Summit, I'm not sure. Specific to what I do, but yeah, Wednesday, March the 18th, Lisa, that one is. So if anyone's obviously into like Azure, Microsoft Intune, device management, data protection, again, all around the world of AI and securing and protecting your data, this is more globally sort of recognized, not just AI specific, but that's going to be in March the 18th across in Amsterdam. So all the events are available if you go to microsoft.com/events. And if you just want to filter by your region and whether it's on site or if you want to do it virtually, there's loads of different events up here. I kind of keep an eye on it all the time for like little things, especially the ones that are kind of later on in the year. And a lot of the sort of the bigger ones. Right now, they only got up to June right now. And those are kind of the two that kind of, I had a little look and I was like, oh yeah, the London tour's in there now. Lovely. And the Security Summit's there as well now. So
cool.
Couple to look forward to. But yeah,
happy days.
Any other news from you, Lisa? Any other news or events? I mean, there is Blackbird news. We're hiring.
We are. We've done the one for second stage interview. We've got another one today.
We haven't.
Straight after this. So yeah, it's just we're just so busy. It's insane. And as much as you and I would love to split ourselves 4 ways.
I mean,
simultaneously, it can't be done. You know, clients still think we can cut ourselves in half and disappear, but it's not going to happen. So really excited about the one this afternoon.
Yeah, so I think if anyone was looking at a career into the Microsoft SharePoint Stratosphere, Microsoft 365 and Power Platform, we can reach out to Blackbird on LinkedIn or Lisa. And we post posts up there in job openings when we have them. So if anyone's interested in a career in learning within our space or has experience, let us know. Let yourself be known. We have got a ton of work and we need humans to give it to. So let us know. And then I think the other one I was going to mention, just for a business-related news, Lisa, was the close of office for us. So
yes.
Looking to get us. So our close of office, I think you've put it as...
So
social media post Friday.
That's okay. Yeah, it's Friday. It's this Friday. So Stuart, funny enough, finishes up on Thursday because he's definitely earned a long rest. So Stuart finishes up on Thursday, but Melissa and I are going to be around till 4 o'clock on Friday, and then the office closes down, the out of offices go on, and we will be coming nowhere near emails until 9 o'clock on the 5th of January, when we literally hit the ground running.
You're a liar. I know you're going to open up your emails.
No!
You work too hard to not look at your emails.
I might have a little peek, just in case.
I knew it. There you go. So if anyone's got any inquiries, if you do want to ask us any questions about anything whatsoever, just get them in before Friday if you can, guys. And also, we'll be happy to answer any questions and inquiries about 2026, because our diary's pretty full. I think I'm pretty much done now till March, April.
Yeah.
I think there's a few other trainers as well looking at June, I think Mel was telling me.
Yeah, Scott's fully booked till June. I'm almost on par with you through to the end of March. David, Power BI training, he's February, I want to say. But yeah, and it's just everybody's coming in going, I need to spend my budget before the end of March, please can we have training? And I'm like, no, because I don't have any bodies.
There's no
availability. There's nothing in there until we hire 2 more members of staff.
There you go. Right. I think that was all of our news. And because I can, Lisa, because I can.
You're going to play your jingle again.
It's now time for industry news and events. Well, that was the news and that was the events. There you go.
It was.
In fact, I've also found these as well, Lisa.
I like that.
Yeah. I've got other ones too. I've got clapping and I've got drum rolls and stuff. So if you ever require one,
we'll do a.
All right. Well, it is now ready for a drum roll, technically.
It
As we
is.
move on to our main segment of the day, what we're going to spend a little bit of time on now is talking about building the perfect SharePoint site.
Mm.
This is quite a broad spectrum of a conversation point, and obviously we don't have all day to talk about this. But what I thought we would do today is specifically talk about, we have also got a few SharePoint projects that are going to be coming up in the not too distant future, and we typically get asked the same questions repetitively again and again. And it's all about the decision making around what customers should be considering when making SharePoint sites. So just really looking at the decision making today, looking at SharePoint site architecture, the difference between different SharePoint sites, why you'd pick one and the other, because I will start at architecture, Lisa. I will work our way into navigation, build our way into libraries, lists, pages, permissions, and we'll spend like 5-10 minutes on each. Just summarizing each so people can get a feel for better decision making when making the perfect SharePoint site. But I mean, Lisa, the question to you would be, what is the perfect SharePoint site? I guess that's a hard one to answer.
It depends what you want to do with it.
Good answer. Oh, you're on it. You know it. You know it. Depends what you want it
Because
to do.
I get asked this all the time. You know, there's okay? So if different people ask different questions.
Yeah.
So from a user site ownery perspective, obviously they predominantly get two options. So you get a SharePoint team site and you get a SharePoint communication site. So it's which would I use? Why would I use it? You know, what's the benefit of one over the other? What extra features do I get in one over the other? And then you've got the admin. Now they've got extra bits because they've still got other sites that users don't see anymore.
Yeah.
You know, so it goes back to, you know, what is classic and document management centers and oh god, the list goes on. And yeah, and it causes carnage and then you bolt on teams,
I'll get to that. Yeah.
which just causes carnage as well. So if it's, but for me, I try and keep it as simplified as possible. So if you are building your high level intranet landing site, so the hub for everybody to access the minute they open a browser, use a communication site. Use that one. You are trying to communicate to the business. Does what it says on the tin. If you are building behind it or below it, alongside it, depending how you look at it, something that's going to be departmental replacement to drives and folders inside a server, use a SharePoint team site and use that for your document management. Dead easy.
You would think so.
You would think, but it never seems to come out that way.
No, I think that I'm like you in this one. It is very simplistic in regards to like you know what one you're picking before you go into it. And the conversation we typically have with customers is like they give us a scope, they tell us what they want, and then we'll know immediately from whatever they're saying what they should be selecting. You know, you're right. You know, if it's a landing page of an intranet, it's a communication site every single time without absolutely
all day long.
hesitation. But when you start to kind of go down the route of, well, this is for a team, it's for a department, it's for a way of working or a process, then that's when we do have a decision to make. And I often say, you know, you are right. There is, when you go through as a user to create a site, my recommendation is users should never be able to create sites.
No.
Ever. It should be switched off effectively, because one of the concerns that we have is really around the best practice. So if anyone's listening that's thinking, okay, I myself as a user can create a site, raise that as a concern, because that means anyone can create a site. Now, a communication site is not so bad because it's a communication site, there's no connected parts. But when you go through creating a brand new site as a normal user, the team site option is not just SharePoint. And that's the biggest takeaway. Then a lot of lessons learned over the years is when you do that option, what you're actually doing is you're creating a Microsoft 365 group, which has your SharePoint site, which is absolutely fine. And that's maybe what you want. But what they create is a mailbox. What they create is teams. What they create is groups with permissions that are separate that live in your Active Directory or Entra these days. Microsoft Form groups, Loop, Whiteboard, Power Platform stuff. It's just crazy. It's way too much.
It is.
And I think that's where, there definitely has to be for if you're thinking about, decision making about what a site to create, definitely spend at least time understanding what you're going to be using the SharePoint site for first. and then make your conscious decision about what one you select. So you are right. As Lisa was saying, guys, you want to make sure you go into the admin center, go into browse more sites. And then in there's the second, Microsoft and their great wisdom, I'm sure they're listening. They're both called Team Site.
Yep.
And that is one of the other things that catches people out as well. They're not both the same. They are very different. One of them comes with a 365 group, which is the one that users can create, which is just a standard team site. But if you go through admin, I'm going to have to do this off the top of my head. You go to more, and in there's another team site, but that one doesn't come with a 365 group. It just comes as a standard SharePoint site. Now, the advantages of that one is it can be converted to a group later. So if you want to have Teams later, you can have it later. If you want to have a mailbox later, you can have it later. And it's kind of a slow, more methodical sort of approach that we do this, then we migrate, then we give more training, and kind of periodically give them more capabilities as they go. Where the other one is you have teams and groups and everything all done in one go. So it's kind of, that's normally the three I would do as well, is like you do team site with a group, team site without a group, and a communication site. And that's typically the three. And outside of that, you can't go much wrong, other than obviously there are other ones. And we won't really cover them today. We don't have to go into a huge amount of detail, but there are others that can be created. I think the other one as well, I think, Lisa, you'll have come across this too, is the ability to create teams. And the absolute chaos that this caused during COVID times, if anyone remembers those days. When people
I have a favourite.
Oh, go for it.
I have a favourite. So it was I'd gone into a client after COVID to have a look because they'd had carnage reign because everybody got free reign to create sites left, right, and Chelsea. And it was hilarious because there was a site there, and obviously again because it creates a group and it does all the bits in the background and the email address and everything else. There was a Wednesday afternoon coffee and cake catch up at clientsname.co.uk. And I opened it up and I'm looking at it going, what's that? And she went, I don't know. I said, well, who built it? She went, I don't know. And I was like, what's it for? She's like, I don't know. I was like, right, okay, let's just get rid. And it literally was, instead of using chat to have a catch up, they went, I need to create a team to have a chat.
So many of those. I think that's where I enjoy teaching the Teams course for that. When as soon as you start to speak to people like here's a team, that's what you use that for.
Yep.
And here are chats and groups and chats. Here's what they're for, and they're now separate. They start to get it. I think it's because a lot of people during COVID, and you and I probably deal with this all the time, is where customers they haven't had training. They've been told to use Teams, but they don't know when to use one or the other. And there are some really, good shout out to all the customers who do training and they do teach their staff. And obviously a mix of Teams chat and Teams are separate or can be separate. There is a setting for them to be together now, which creates even more confusion. But they should
it defaulted to it. Melissa went mad. So she opened Teams. Me too. Because it was just everything smooshed into one. And I'm like, where's it gone?
It's crazy. That I tell you, two things I changed by default, Lisa. Taking Teams and chat so they're still separate, so I can go between them more effectively. And the other one is focused inboxes in Outlook. I don't understand why that's there. The amount of stuff when that first feature came out, I was like, this is quite clever. I'll get rid of all the rubbish. Now, then you had focused inbox junk. And I was like, just get rid of focus. I can manage my own inbox. I am more than capable. That's two things I switch off by default. Anyways, I digress. But yeah, what we're talking about is Microsoft Teams is the ability to create Microsoft Teams. What people don't realize what that's actually doing is creating a Microsoft 365 group, just the other way round. So if creating a SharePoint team site and that creates a group, which you can sometimes turn Teams on if you want to. If you do it through Teams, you do get Teams and the group and SharePoint by default. And then that's where all these random SharePoints start appearing. It's like, why is there now 5,000 SharePoint sites? And the reason for that is Microsoft Teams. So another sort of best practice is ensuring that you do have the ability to create Teams locked down. There is a PowerShell script that you guys can run to set who can create teams that you obviously trust and they're trained to ensure that doesn't happen. But another thing I've noticed, Lisa, and I don't know, you maybe have the same thing, is channels. And you can create channels now that are private, and that then also creates a
SharePoint site.
A SharePoint site collection. And then it starts to get crazy at that point, and people's like, why can't I see this? And where's my file went? And okay, have you went to this channel? Well, that channel doesn't go to that tab now, and I'm just like,
and if you create a shared channel, that also creates a SharePoint site collection.
yeah.
So if you've got a team with 4 private channels and 2 shared channels, you've basically got 7 SharePoint sites.
Yeah,
It's bonkers.
it is bonkers. And then without the training and governance strategy in place by our SharePoint admins, that is one of the biggest concerns I would say I'd have for SharePoint architecture, is not just making the right decision about what one to use, but the freedom of expression from users. And obviously we want to encourage users as best we can to make architecture and, you know, be a part of the design process, and it should be intuitive and work around them. But at the same time, for governance, Copilot introduction, data security, data compliance, having these things open as an open strategy is the first sort of red flag I'd have for you know, doing an audit on data. So yeah, so when it comes to architectural decisions, understand what you want, make the right decision, and lock it down so people can create their own.
Now, as you just touched on, and I know it's part of what we were going to discuss anyway, the security side of things and permissions. So this one for me again is a bone of contention, because people create teams, which then creates a 365 group, and then when they look at it, it's got their owners and their members and who they let in and who can do what. But what they and then they somehow navigate their way into the SharePoint side, and they were like, well, I've got more permissions in here, and how do I do stuff in there? But that one says this, and this one says something else, and it gets really confusing, because when you go into the SharePoint side of things and you click on the little drop down that says owners and members and visitors, it shows empty, and which confuses the matter even further. So for me, and I know probably Stuart will probably agree with this, when it comes to, as Stuart said, letting people create sites, let your admin do it. You tell them what you want, you tell them who gets in, you tell them what permissions they need, and let them build it and give it to you.
Have a proper change management process for creating content, whether that's a SharePoint list or a Microsoft forum or something more fancy. Just make sure that there's a governance strategy in place for the creation of sites, and also the management. You did touch on, we'll come back around to permissions. But yeah, definitely in regards to permissions, understanding the owners, members, visitors in regards to the advanced SharePoint permission settings versus the owners and the members of the Microsoft 365 groups, which are both very different. They are connected in some way, but yeah, that is a bit of a caveat that you have to note.
Yes.
There you go. There, like that. Well, we did that 5-10 minutes. Explain just architectural. Just take
your time,
make the right decisions. The only one I would say that to note is communication sites cannot be changed later to be a team site or a team site with a group. Communication sites are just bog standard SharePoint. They can't be converted to groups or anything like that in the future. So that'd be the only thing to note. Then kind of moving on swiftly to navigation. One of my favorite features, pretty much, no, I wouldn't say of all time, but it's one of, if not one of my favorite features Microsoft ever released, was hub navigation.
Yes.
Because back in the day, we used to have a global reusable metadata using the sort of taxonomy feature within the admin centers. You used to build it and then globally roll it out. And it was fine for what it did, but now it's a sort of a relatively painless experience with using hubs and hub navigation. So what we can do is you can register one site as the primary hub location, like your entry point. So Lisa, you said it was like an intranet in your example. So let's just say it was the Blackbird corporate intranet. That would be the hub site. That's the entry point that everybody should be going to. And then what we could maybe do is put sites that are associated to that hub. Now, this works really well. For example, if we have got Blackbird Corporate as our example, that's us as our entity, we might have a training site. We might have a HR site. We might have finance. We might have materials, and these could be different SharePoint sites for many different reasons, for safety, security, governance, but they all have to be separate SharePoint sites. And to navigate back and forward from them all can be quite tedious, particularly if they are separate SharePoint sites. But using the hubs and associating all these other SharePoint sites with one hub, it means we now have a uniform navigation and brand across all of the different SharePoint sites. So when you go to the finance site, you can go back up to the home. You can go from home, you can go down to materials, and from materials, you can go across to finance with a global nav. And I don't know how you do it in your training, Lisa, but when I teach it, I always teach it using the BBC website as my analogy. Because you go in through bbc.co.uk, other news and TV services are available. And then across the tab at the top in the global nav or hub navigation for them, you've got sport, weather, news.
Yep.
And that's like your subcategory. But it doesn't matter whether you go to weather or news, the navigation remains the exact same.
Same.
So, and that's what we can do in SharePoint is we can make it consistent. So if you want to go down to a department, you can go down to a department site and then come back up again. You want to go across to a project, you can go across to a project. And one of the, obviously, as well as doing navigation that inherits and branding that inherits, there's also content roll-up. So if you've got news articles or news sections in your SharePoint sites about what those departments are doing, there's an automatic content roll-up feature on your hub that allows you to draw all those articles up into one web part at the top for your news and events. So hub navigation for navigation, an absolute must with multi-site collection.
Yes.
And that gets you away from the sub-sites, Lisa. Remember those back in the day?
I do, and they are awful. It reminds me of subfolders.
They do. They have capped them now. I believe it's only 2,000 sub-sites per site collection now.
Oh, just 2,000. It's I mean, geez. That's zero. Like it should be zero. And again, it's one of the things that we emphasize massively inside our training sessions is that we inside the world of 365, you don't create subsites anymore. Everything should be an independent site collection. They should all be associated to a hub, and you should work that way. So it's nice, neat, tidy, and clean. That way, data is not going to disappear, and your file paths don't exceed the 256 characters.
Very well put. Very well put. I think definitely trying to keep it flat is important too.
Very, very important.
And the navigation, we don't really have to worry about top to bottom topology or topology. Is that the right word? I don't know where that word came from. But the architecture normally would be like a folder directory. You'd go from here to here to here to here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 levels deep. Where now, because our SharePoint site architecture is now flat, our navigation is what gives it the perception of having sub-levels, where they're not really, they're just flat. So for businesses that change or they redesign, they move departments around, it's not a case of having to rebuild the site and move a sub-site anymore. It's just update your navigation so it appears as though it's moved to a different location. So there's really the advantage of the hub navigation as a key feature, and it's something that people should be planning for. I think one of the things we talk about a lot is like scope and requirements of what SharePoint sites should do, how they should be look and feel, but navigation is somewhat missed, and just ensuring that there's a consistent, granular, easy to train navigation that's consistent and easy to update is so important. Just more so important than the actual SharePoint content themselves sometimes, because the first thing users are going to say to us, Lisa, is I can't find something.
Oh, the joyous phrase.
Yeah, and it's because the navigation is not being built with them in mind. They've not had any input on it. So when we're building navigation, again, another best practice is keep the users at the forefront of testing and quality assurance and during the requirement gathering stage, because they're ultimately the ones that are going to be using it, not your IT director. It's going to be the people that are day-to-day that need to be informed of the decisions about navigation. But navigation doesn't just stop there, does it, Lisa?
No.
We've got more than our hub navigation. We've got our quick launch on the left-hand side, or can be used at the top if you wanted to as well. And then the one part that everybody seems to forget about is actually web parts. We can use web parts as a form of navigating to our content on our SharePoint pages as well. So there's lots of navigational elements. Your favorite navigation element, Lisa? I mean, mine's is the hub navigation. Have you got a personal favorite that you have came across in your time, like drop downs and mega menus and buttons?
No, I'm with you on the global navigation. To me, that's a big thing. I'm sick of people going, how do I get home? Click there. And my other big one is pages. I love a page. And lots and lots of clients that we work with over the years have said, why do I have them? What are they for? I've got a home page. Why do I need another page? Well, you may have to use it for different information. So again, a key client springs to mind. They have inside one division of the business lots of little subdivisions. So they all have access to the primary site where all the data is held, but they don't need all to access all of the data at the same time. So they want key information for them. So they go click, and there it is. So we use pages for that. So when a driver clicks in and they've got to do the driver's log for the vehicle, he doesn't want to have to spend 25 minutes trying to figure out where that is. He wants to go click, and there it is. And it's one of the key things for navigation with me, and it's I really push this to all clients, is 3 clicks. 3 clicks to destination. If you are clicking more than 3 times to navigate into something, somebody stuck it in there far too deep. And they all go, oh, I bet you can't do it. You want to bet? You know, on the rare occasion I might let 4 go, but usually it's 3. And it's one of those key things, because users don't want to go click, 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 click to go and find information.
I remember that.
Yeah, and it's awful. And I mean, it's like, if you take Google, Bing, Yahoo, any other search engine that may be available, nobody goes past page 2.
Very rarely, unless you're very specific. And think these days, people don't even go to the first page. They just go to ChatGPT now and ask a bloody question. Well, I'm wondering if we get that within Copilot and within SharePoint. Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, I think pages, I mean, we could talk about pages right now, actually. I think definitely pages are one of the most undervalued and underused element of SharePoint, I think, over the years. I do feel as though that, like you said, a lot of customers use SharePoint for their getting off of a network drive, migrating their documents to the cloud, but they don't really think about it as a form of communication, you know, whether that is a page about news articles. You can use pages for policies instead of them being in documents, so they're more searchable and readable and understood. You know, you could use them for navigation, for videos, for training. Pages are basically just like a web source, like a website, and we can put anything on them. They're fully customizable. They're secured for your permissions. Yeah, I think they're such an invaluable tool, and they're so underutilized rather is the word I should use, in most SharePoint environments.
And it's all about keeping the key phrase in anything to do with 365 is user engagement. Keep them engaged with it, and the best way to keep them engaged is get them to something quickly.
Absolutely, less than 3 clicks, Lisa. As we want, and that we can. And I think there's a few people. We were working at a train company recently. I won't name drop them, but the guy that was also making their pages has put a real conscious effort on making it simple, easy to read, color and branding aware, and simplify and decluttering a lot of the noise. When you scroll down a page, it's informative and straight to the point, and making the buttons easier. So there's definitely a lot of stuff we could do with pages. There's the SharePoint Lookbook for those that don't know it. If you just Google SharePoint Lookbook, there's a lot of ideas from Microsoft on there. And if you create new pages in SharePoint now, you've got the brand new create page screen with lots more templates from Microsoft available. There's some really neat ones. I don't know if, Lisa, if you've played with them in training, you probably have.
I have.
Me. There's a really cool sort of flexible sections now that you can use background images and stuff to kind of make your content flow a bit easier, and it looks really, really professional. I think who should be creating pages? You should really have a bit of web design experience. You definitely have to be aware of user interface, user experience as a whole, how they find content, how they engage with content. And anyone writing content should be a content creator. It should be engaging. It should be, not using pixelated images off your phone that are in the wrong resolution, or your phone's horizontal instead of vertical, and all that type of stuff. You got to be very consciously aware that you're putting this information out to your business. So I think pages, consider there's a few different options when you come to building with your web parts and your sections, but don't use the wiki page and don't add the web part pages. Those are old classic stuff, guys. So if you're going through your SharePoint site page and click new, don't use those two. Just use the modern site page and see what you can come up with. I'd always say if anyone has any designs or any concepts they want to share with us, I'm always happy to kind of share our thoughts and any best practices. But I love pages, Lisa. I think that really brings a SharePoint site to life if you do them correctly.
It does.
And it really gets people encapsulated to use SharePoint.
It does. And also on pages, it stops people creating additional sites.
It's true, yeah. Oh, I need to create a site for HR. I'm like, but what?
Nope.
Well, maybe not HR is the worst example, but a cycle to work scheme. It's like, okay, well, why don't you just create a page that articulates what that is and how?
Exactly. Why are you building a site?
Love it, Lisa. Love it. I'm there.
Yep.
I will support you. I second that motion.
Oh, I've argued that point with loads of people over the years. Especially recently, I had one going, I need a site for this. Why? Well, actually, it was a very, very long-standing client of ours, based in Edinburgh, Not the one we were speaking to
I
this
was
morning.
like, oh.
No, not the one we were speaking to this morning.
Yeah,
But
okay.
I still remember, so many years ago, going into this client for them to show me their kind of structure of what they wanted.
Yeah.
And the guy had spent ages on this massive diagram of how the sites should look and what they're going to need. And I went in, and on this table was laid out a roll of paper that I think had 76 sites on it when I first arrived.
Okay.
And I'm looking at it going, okay, why?
Yeah.
So we went through it one by one, and then there was finance director's site, HR director's site. And I'm like, why have they got a site? Well, he needs his own location. Now, this was pre-365. Okay, so this was still server
I
based.
think I know who you're on about now. Actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So this was server based, and I was like, why? Well, he needs a place to put his information. Well, create my library. It's just storing documentation. Create a library and permission it. Done. Give him a button on a page to get to it to make it easier. Done. You do not need to build a SharePoint site. So I went into 70 odd, and I think by the time I left, there was 10.
You can see that a lot of them are archive, old, not relevant, created by mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mad these days. And I think it's worse these days because, as we said earlier, the ability to create teams and channels has just opened the floodgates for that.
Oh, it has.
So if anyone goes into their SharePoint admin center and sees any more than about 20 sites, that's typically because of Teams and people not creating groups correctly or using groups incorrectly, which is another one we've just had recently. So yeah, I need to create a Microsoft 365 group to control permissions for another SharePoint site, and I'm like, what? I don't understand.
No.
So it's inappropriate use of permissions. But anyways, that's
Yes.
another story for another day. We'll move on. Time is a flying. We're already at 55 minutes, Lisa. We always have fun when we're talking about it. You could be here all day talking about this stuff.
We could.
I'm gonna save document libraries for our segue into our tech tip of the week. It'll be good. We'll keep them together. But building lists.
Yes.
Another again.
Love a list.
I love a list. Lists. I've always said this in training, Lisa. Lists are the one thing I enjoy the most, and it's the one thing customers need to be using more.
Yes.
Is using
my definition, and everybody gets a big giggle when I say this in a training room. As far as I'm concerned, lists are the sexiest thing known to man inside the world of SharePoint.
I love it.
They are
I'm up there with pages.
gorgeous.
I'd have lists up there. Okay.
Yep, they are gorgeous. Used properly, fabulous.
Yeah. I think that it's definitely, again, something that customers should be looking at is what are they? Take a lot of things with pinches of salt when you're looking at your data and what solution you're going to pick, because these days we've got so many options. Obviously, Lisa and I will be very biased and say that SharePoint lists are a pretty good way to go. I would say for a majority of the things that we speak to customers about, like very simple repositories and data sources. If you are using something a bit more complex like SQL Server, you'll want to use Dataverse. If you're using Excel spreadsheets, that's a whole kind of different kind of worms, because Excel has very different functionality to SharePoint lists and SQL and Dataverse because of things like your macros and your visuals. We would also use things like Power BI to do our visuals and Power Pivot tables, keep them separate. And it's a slightly different way. So we do have a lot of customers asking us, I have an Excel spreadsheet for something. Can it work on a SharePoint list? Yes and no. It depends what you want to do with your data. But certainly when it comes to forms and data capture, SharePoint lists are a very easy way of being able to do things like taxi booking forms, holiday requests,
expenses, travel.
Expenses and travel is two we've been working on ourselves recently to kind of streamline that process for our trainers. And yeah, we can use our list to basically store rows of data in columns with a very simple non-branded sort of basic form out of the box. But the advantage that we get with building lists is you can integrate it with the new list forums, which came out this year in 2025, which are pretty neat. I really like teaching them. It's a bit like adding a Microsoft form to your SharePoint list. You can do a little form now where you fill it in away from SharePoint, and it's branded as a Microsoft Forms. You can change the logo, the heading, branching logic, some really cool stuff. Hit submit, and the data then goes back to SharePoint.
Yeah, it's fab.
And it's very, very clever. It's like the new library forms, but we've obviously had them in lists for a little while.
Yeah.
So It's pretty neat. And then you have the ability to use Power Platform. So Power Apps can be directly integrated into the customized form feature. So when you open up the ability to submit something to a list, you can get the form straight away there from Power Apps. Or you can make a Power App completely separately and reference the information from Microsoft Lists. It's pretty neat. I think that Microsoft Lists, when they're used within the context of SharePoint, they're securable, they're customizable, they integrate with Power Automate, Power Apps, all the Power Platform. My one down thing I was going to say, Lisa, to let people be aware of is the difference between building a list in SharePoint and building a list in Microsoft Lists.
Yep.
And just to be careful that if you do go through the My Lists or the Lists feature within your app launcher within 365, there is an ability to create a list there where you choose what SharePoint site you add it to, because lists are stored within SharePoint.
Yep.
But there's one option which lets you create a My List, which is actually stored within your OneDrive. So if you did leave the organization and your account gets deleted,
it goes with it.
Little list that you created. And if you were reliable on that, get my words out today, Lisa. If you rely upon that for business line of data, a business process, an automation, or a report, you might be in for a little bit of a shock when that goes missing one day. And that could be why. So when you are creating your SharePoint list, just make sure you are on a SharePoint site. The permissions are set securely, and the requirement gathering for it is always my favorite part.
Yes.
Building up lists and forums and processes. And yeah, lists are definitely one of my favorite things, as you said, Lisa, in the whole of SharePoint.
Yeah, I still remember training a group of people down in London. When did I train this lot? This would have been, I think it was last year. And I was in a room. I was doing overviews. You know, this is SharePoint. This is what you're going to get. Blah blah blah. This is this, that, and the other. And I then got into lists and explained how sexy they were and how wonderfully brilliant they could be. And there was a guy in the room, and at the end of the session, he came back to me, and he's like, "Could we do the list thing again? Because I just want to get my head around it." I said, "Yeah, sure. I can talk list all day long. Crack on." And I said, "Give me an example. What is it you're thinking of using it for?" And he's like, "Well, I deal with disciplinaries." And I was like, "Oh, fun job." So the organization is enormous, and he basically has a master spreadsheet in Excel, nothing fancy, just a plain Excel spreadsheet. Then he has a copy of it, which is blank, that if somebody raises a grievance or a disciplinary against somebody, he has to send the blank one out to them. They fill it in, they email it back to him. He then has to take that data, lift it off the blank one, and put it into the master one. And I'm sitting there looking at him, and I was like, "Why?"
Why? Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, it's what we do." I said, "Okay, just for argument, how long do you spend doing this?"
I don't want to know. I don't think I want to know.
On average, 3 hours on a Monday morning is the starting point for the week. And I was like, "Nah, beat that." So the fact you've got it built already, I can import it, so that's fine, because there's nothing fancy in it. It's just an Excel spreadsheet. I said, "Go out there, everything I've just shown you, go and do it." I said, "And then when you hit new, there's your blank one. Send in that." And then he was like, "Oh yeah, but security, I can't let them see the big bit." And I went, "Ah, this is where it comes in." So in advanced settings of a list, you can set it so users can only see information they have input.
Yep. Love that.
Life changing. Yep. I went back down a couple of months later, and he came running into the training room when he realised I was in and told me he loved me.
Oh, boy.
And I was like, "Oh, thank you." I said, "Why is that?" And he went, "Because you've totally changed my ways of working." Yep. All because he created a list.
Yep, it's mad. And it is, you're totally right. There's so many advantages to using them. And the amount of times we've seen people over the years that are like, even you and I would look at them like, "What are you doing?
I know.
Why are you doing this to yourself?" And then we introduce things like Microsoft Lists to them, just throw in a bit of automation with a workflow, then a little bit of Power BI, maybe in a Power App, for example. And they're just like, "My God, this is like revolutionized the way we work." And we've done this technology's been around for years. Like, it's just awareness of it. And that's what we do, is training around all the best use cases. Because when I like to talk about in training, Lisa, the amount of times that you and I go to offices and they go at the front desk and it's like a log and it's a bit of pen and paper.
Sign-in book.
Winds me up rotten. So my first thing I go to them is, "Okay, well, can you guys tell me in the past 6 months when I've been into your building?" And obviously they can't, because they
No.
thought, oh, I'd have to go to logbook, need to go back and check, would have to email. I'm like, what if that was just a SharePoint list where you filter based upon a date range and a person's name? Oh. I was like, well, that's where you have these things. You can obviously buy very expensive sign-in software, or you could just build a SharePoint list, build a very simple app, put it on an iPad on your front desk. They sign in like normal, and that information goes into your SharePoint list. So you now have a complete audit log for security reasons. Who's been in, who's been out, who they were visiting, fire register safety. It's easier too, because you can just take the iPad out and then see who's in the building as a guest. It just streamlines that entire process, and that wouldn't take you any longer than like 2 days, 3 days to make. And it would save you a fortune in licensing. So
God, yes.
licensing, a little bit of upskilling, like a little bit of training course, and you could start to create some really innovative ways of working with Microsoft lists. Oh, love this topic. We should save this for another rainy day, talking about
we could do a whole list thing on lists.
I love a list thing. So yeah, so there's one for the perfect SharePoint site. Should have lists.
It should,
and it can really help you guys with your forms and data and business processes. Oh, I love that one. But well, I've got 2 left, 2 bullet points. We've got time as a shifty, because we've got places.
We've got an interview to do.
We do. So we've got to get a shift on. But let's move on to document libraries now. Now, I have a caveat on this one, Lisa, that we don't have long to talk about it. Unfortunately, but we will have a day. We will have another podcast in the future where we will just chinwag over
document
libraries. So everyone can have penciled in your diaries for next year. If you guys have any questions about building document libraries, please post them in the comments on like YouTube or Spotify or all these different places. I will pick them up. And if you want to email us, you can email us at training@blackbirdcorporate.co.uk, and we'll be happy to pick up any questions you want us to ask in the next one of our next podcasts. I don't know if it'll be the next one or the one after, and we talk about sort of building libraries properly and really dive into start to finish. Right now it's just talking about the perfect SharePoint site, and the use and why we should consider using document libraries, Lisa. So I guess from a bullet point perspective, what are the things that everyone should be consider about document libraries? I've got my own. I'll let you go first, because you and I are somewhat similar.
So, bullet points.
A brief paragraph or whatever.
Okay, I can do a brief paragraph. So naming convention is key. When it comes to the creation of a document library, so many people make mistakes when they do that one. Version control, another big one.
Default.
It's always on by default. It always defaults to 500 as well. Lots of people don't realize that you can reduce that down. At the moment, the minimum you can go down to is 100. It used to be 10, but for some weird reason, Microsoft changed it, so it's 100. But it is going to get reduced again. Your advanced settings, obviously, how you want documentation to be worked on. Do you want an app? Do you want a browser? Exactly. Do you want the user to make the decision themselves?
Experience.
Yeah. Do you want users to create folders? No, turn them off. Inside that setting in there. Are you going to use content types? You turn them on or turn them off in there. I could talk this one till I'm blue in the face.
So many. Yeah, I think the one I was going to add to this is, in regards to best practices, don't be bound to one library.
No.
We see a lot of people who build their SharePoint sites and they have one document library and they basically migrate their folder structure into a library. But what you're not really taking advantage of is all of the features Lisa's just mentioned, version control, check in, check out, metadata, views, properties, etc. You can't take advantage of that because the information is applied to the library and the library is then inherited to your content. So if you have an invoice that's stored in a document library, well, I want that invoice to be notifying me when it's overdue. I want that invoice to tell me who it was sent to, what the amount was, who edited it last, can I update it and send it to a customer and share it, and I want to have very independent controls over that business process with that type of file. Where on the other hand, I may have a completely different file type about media, marketing, branding, that doesn't require a lot of those in-depth notifications or alerts. I just need somewhere to store it. Well, those are two different ways of working. So in SharePoint, we can create as many libraries as you want. There's not really, there is a limit, but there's not really a limit you're ever going to hit realistically, where we can split our data into more manageable, meaningful segments. So instead of having folder structure, have more libraries as your top entry point in to then configure those features, Lisa, we're talking about.
There is a but.
I will take your but. What is your
So
but?
the but is you do not replicate a folder structure from a server drive in libraries in SharePoint.
Correcto, correct. That's one of the first things we would always recommend as a best practice is to review your current information architecture as a folder structure. Absolutely, Lisa. And then understand where does the folder structure, why are they there? Because more often than not, a folder structure is just folder, 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 files. So
Yes.
all those folders that were before were just used for categorization and
Mm-hmm.
applying metadata to whatever was being applied. So the department, the year, the person, the week, they're not that's not a need for a folder. That's just you classifying the file
Mm-hmm.
in a location. And that's sometimes where a lot of people are going, oh, I don't know how to use metadata. Well, as soon as you look at a folder structure and you look down the folder names, the folder names are typically the classifications. That's what
And
they are. That's
anyone
your
that says they
classification.
don't know how to use metadata
Oh, they're
is
lying.
lying.
Yeah.
Because if you
You do.
online shop,
Bingo. Yep.
you use metadata.
Oh, I want to go to Amazon and find something that's on Prime delivery. What do? You toggle the filter using metadata
Prime.
called Prime.
Prime.
It's metadata.
I want to
Networking.
find a. I mean, I have a great terminology for ways of working for 360 SharePoint in particular. So when we get onto the metadata sections of library structures, and people look at me like I've got two heads, which is perfectly normal. I try and relay it in a way that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I ask the room, and I'll ask all of you listening: do you do online shopping? Yes.
Perfect.
I've only ever come across two people that have said no.
Yeah. Even not even just online shopping. Like it could be like
Just
go to
anything.
Asda, Argos, eBay,
Yeah.
Amazon. Like any modern website these days has got
Metadata associated to it.
metadata. Yeah.
So the way I try and get them to relax and calm down, especially those that get that kind of feeling going, it's different and I don't like it,
Where's my folders?
is basically we all we're going to do is turn your server through SharePoint into an online data shopping channel.
Yep.
Dead easy.
Dead easy, and they freak out over it. But
Totally. Every time.
I think when you start to look at, and obviously we mentioned it earlier in our podcast today, was Copilot and the ability
Mm.
to query and use natural language. I think there's too many upsides now to metadata versus folder structure that you can't now ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
So in years gone by, folder structure was used because it's a visual representation of your data and people were familiar with it. But we are now saying, okay, well, if you use metadata, you can now start getting automation and workflows running. You
Mm-hmm.
could now report on your documents because you use Power BI. You can now start to use Copilot to use native language to
Mm-hmm.
query your information. How many files were uploaded in the past 2 weeks where the invoice value is over than 1,000? You don't have to go through your folders and find them all. You just ask a natural question to it as if you're talking to you and I,
Mm-hmm.
and it's out of the box.
Yeah.
And there's too many advantages now to not using folder structures that there's no reason why you should be still considering them unless it's a very unique circumstance. And I still think we'll come to it in a second. There are still times where it's appropriate, but not. And there's too more of an influence to go the other way now than ever before because
Yeah.
of Copilot and because of ways of working. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I think document libraries. We will want to spend a whole
We
time
are going to
talking
have
about
to
that one in a bit
do
more
a whole one.
detail.
Yeah.
Yeah, because content types, document sets, modern templates within the SharePoint sort of
Mm-hmm.
advanced that we talked about the other week. The workflow integration. There's so many things to consider with document libraries. It's not one shoe fits all.
No.
For best practices, there's not going to work for everybody, but have a little think about. You can create multiple different libraries, go through requirement gathering, understand where business processes are, and then see if you can replicate your library
Mm-hmm.
structure to match ways of working a business process more so than just having a place to store something.
Yeah.
Every document's got a life cycle. It's got a start and an end and a middle, and all that type of stuff. So we want to make sure that your document's being governed correctly too. And we even get into things like, again, even I'm thinking more sensitivity.
Mm-hmm.
Not to talk about that. Retention schedules. Every document has different retention schedules. Automation of workflow. Document libraries for us is for perspective on everybody else. It is probably Lisa's and I's biggest subject matter that we've had for
Mm-hmm.
years. Is talking about document libraries and how to make them correctly and things about them. And that was our tech tip of the question was going to be Lisa wanted to speak about today, and we'll do it now. I will cover permissions if I've got time at the end. We'll maybe save that for next time. But it's all to do with, you have mentioned a couple of times now, is the non-use of folder structure. And our tech tip of the day was going to be the why. Like
The why.
not to use folder
Don't use
structures,
them.
but as a tech tip, what would be the reason for the why, and then what is people's alternative solutions, Lisa? What should people be considering
There's
instead of
so
folder structure?
there's lots of different reasons why not to use folders inside the world of SharePoint. And the key one, the biggest one, is searchability and file path length. So when people do what they did in servers, as you touched on, they create a folder, they create another folder, another folder, another folder, another folder, put a document in that one. And then below that, they keep creating folders. So even though you know that document's sitting in there somewhere, you probably put it in. You search for it, search is going to carry on its little way, get so far, and go, haha, stuff that, and come backwards. And go, sorry, I can't find it. Because the file path is enormous. Whereas, obviously, inside the world of SharePoint, we want everything flat, nice, neat, and tidy, searchable. So if you lifted your server structure and dumped it into a library inside SharePoint, you are causing the same problem, but somewhere else.
Hurts my head, that.
So no, don't use folders. Use metadata, use columns. Use views, virtual folders. Use views to sort and filter your information. Stop using that stupid little yellow icon, because that's all it is. It doesn't do anything.
All a folder's doing is classifying the file. That's all a folder's doing. And there is obviously arguments for things like permissions and stuff. And I think Lisa and I would probably, when we speak to most customers, there is an element of you can use them, but they have to be governed. They've got to be controlled. We make sure they're no deeper than like 2 levels deep.
2 levels.
There's a lot of like best practice, and we're not saying that not to use them, but there are better ways of working without.
I am. Lisa, I'm saying not to use them.
People, if you do consultancy, you want to get me maybe. Lisa, I'll just tell you to turn them off. And I think, at least I think because there's so many more advantages to not having them. Like it's not even like a hard sell for me when I speak to customers. No. And I'm not really selling anything, but I'm just trying to make sure that they are using the appropriate ways of building and using multiple different document libraries is far going to outweigh the use of folder structure. But
yes,
if you are
definitely.
using folder structure 2 levels deep, make sure people can't create new ones. Make sure if they're wanting a new folder, they request it. And then we can obviously make decisions based upon that. And you can turn them off, guys. You can go into the advanced settings for your document library through the library settings and go to folders and disable them there. And if you're using obviously a lot of us are using the modern, you can edit the templates in the drop down for when you go new, and there's a drop down. You can at the bottom there's a button that says edit templates. You can edit that, and then you can disable Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and folders from there as well.
Yeah.
A couple little things that you can still do, I think, Lisa, is you can still, if you synchronize the library to your desktop, you can still right-click new folder, which is a bit frustrating. So try not do that. And then also, if you do the new one through OneDrive, you can still create folders from OneDrive.
Yeah, you can.
And they go to SharePoint as well. So there's still humans will find their way around it, and that's just part of the tale of training and understanding people's requirements. But yeah, we want to be turning off folders where absolutely possible and encouraging the use of metadata, not just for now, but for the future. So improved ways of working, better automation, better reporting, better use of integration with AI and Copilot especially. All those should be deeply considered when migrating. Don't just migrate and lift and shift your folder structure. Please, for the love of God, do not do that. Do not listen to your IT service providers who are just going to do that as well. Please speak to us about before you do it and migrate your data into SharePoint, because the amount of times over the years I've seen IT service providers just take file network drives and drop them in SharePoint. It winds me up. If you want folder structure, go use something else other than SharePoint.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, because SharePoint itself is a very powerful tool if used correctly. And if you have the right resource or someone is trained, we can also do that for you. If you can train someone out how to do it properly, we'll be able to get the most from your SharePoint environment. Oh my, that is always a deep one, that one. I mean, I will schedule a little bit more of a structured conversation and maybe even demos, because obviously we do upload these to YouTube and on Spotify as vodcasts as well as the podcasts. So we might upload a little video in the future too of us going through that together, Lisa and I, building one and explaining and showcasing, demoing the reasons behind it, and maybe ask some questions. We could maybe do a live stream one day, Lisa. If anyone has any questions they can ask on the day, we can just do like live consultancy on like YouTube or something.
Yeah.
Who knows? Right, we've got 5 minutes left, Lisa.
Okay.
Let's move on to our last segment of the day, which is our
Do,
random
do,
question of the
do.
day to round out our podcast for today. What have you got for me, Lisa? Last time
Okay.
was, I think I asked you if you wanted one web part or one new thing added to SharePoint.
Yeah.
That was our last question that we had before. That was from myself.
Okay.
What question have you got for me this week?
So this month. Okay. So random question. If you could remove anything from 365 and SharePoint that you think would make life easier, what would it be?
Ooh. Other than folders, because we just spoke about
Other than
them,
folders.
can't
Other than
really
folders.
remove them because the world would burn and we'd never get anyone to forgive us. I think that I would want to remove some of the terminology.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest confusions and one of the biggest pet peeves I have is what we said earlier: is the difference between team sites and team sites. What one's a group and what's not a group. They don't really do a great way in articulating things very clearly to customers and for end users. And there's a lot of that as well, like content types. There's nowhere else in the world where that is used as a context or a term. You know, if you flip the word round, it's a type of content.
Yeah.
You know, a document set. What's a document set? Flip the word round, Lisa. It's a set of documents.
Yes.
And what's a site collection, Lisa? Flip the word round. It's a collection of sites. It's miraculous how this works. I think a lot of the terminology in SharePoint is too convoluted, and it's really not in line with a lot of the natural language that we use, you know, outside of the world of IT. And those are the ones that I try and, when I'm teaching, I have to try and articulate what a document set is, what a content type is, what a site collection is. But as soon as I flip the word round, everyone's like, oh, that's what that means. So if I could remove anything, it would be the unusual terminology for very simple objects in SharePoint. I think that would make our lives easier for teaching. I think it would make their lives easier for building, and it would also make things a little bit easier for everybody. If I
Yep. I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, just I don't think there's really any feature I'd want to necessarily remove. There's things I want to add, like I want modern document sets. I said that in the last one, and I'll add it again. So what I want removed is classic document sets.
There we go.
I want them removed too, so I can get my modern ones because they're such a cool feature. And there's so many other little things, but yeah, terminology is the one that immediately springs to mind because you and I get so many questions over the years, and it's always terminology.
Yeah,
that screws people up. So
it is every time.
Let's remove confusion.
Yes.
Make us some simple language and terms. Hey, what about you? Anything you'd want to remove?
Terminology is a big one for me because you get sick to your back teeth trying to explain exactly what it means. You know, and this is this, and this is that. Oh, yeah, but I'm not a Cody person, so I am so with you on that.
PowerShell, just give us a UI. We live in 2026 nearly.
Yeah, you know.
Give us buttons.
But yeah, so terminology for me is a big thing, mainly because when we start talking SharePoint terminology, everybody does look at you like you've got two heads. Yeah. And then you've got to try and relay it back to what it used to be to make sense and flip it. Yeah, so no, I'm with you on terminology.
Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, it's the one thing that for me, it just, in any training course that you and I do, we can talk SharePoint, but I don't want to say that we dumb it down, but there's ways in which we have to articulate and communicate that to people in the room that they're just like, I have no idea what you're talking about, Stuart. But as soon as you mention a folder, everyone knows what that is. When you mention a file, everyone knows what that is. And it's just trying to get that across to people, which can be quite challenging sometimes. But
yep.
That's what I would do at least. That's what
cool.
I would do.
There we go.
There we go. Lovely stuff. Well, Lisa, it's been an absolute pleasure as usual. We get to just waffle about some SharePoint stuff today and some news and events. I mean, I was going to play it again, but I'm not going to. I will promise I will add a new jingle in each time we do a podcast. So when we come back in January, we'll see a lot of the new updates will be out. So we'll be able to talk about them in a bit more detail. We'll cover that next month. And I'll have a little think about what we want to cover next month. I had a couple different ideas for next month. Now, we talked about document libraries today. It's through a curveball in it where we could actually go through that, just a whole creation process. We go through creation of the library, naming conventions, features, workflows, automation, integration, all that type of stuff. But there is a few different ideas that we do have in the future that we might come back and talk to everyone about.
Cool beans.
Right, we have an interview to do.
We have an interview to do.
That's definitely a way of ending a podcast. Is we need to skedaddle to kind of get this done because we're working in a day. But we'll finish off today wishing you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, because you won't probably speak to us till after the New Year now. And Lisa, I will know that I'll be speaking to you this week in the office. I'm coming down
for Christmas Day.
For Christmas Day,
office Christmas Day.
Which I'm looking forward to it. But until then, Lisa, I guess it's
goodbye from me.
You. And a goodbye from myself. And we'll see you all next month in January for a brand new podcast episode. For now, catch you later. Bye. Bye, Lisa.